Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a really cool knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Kizer Brat button lock. Why is that so cool? It looks like every other button lock I've ever seen. It's a G10 integral knife. What does that mean? It means the entire handle, the entire body here is milled from a single piece of material, in this case G10. Usually we see integrals, this is like an element that enthusiasts like in some of the upper tiers of production and custom knives, and we see them made out of titanium or occasionally carbon fiber. But they're very expensive. This process, right, compared to doing, your typical sandwich or pillar construction, is not only more expensive, it's more risky. If you mess up on a single scale, well, then you replace the scale, and you're still out the cost, right, and the wear and tear on your machines. But it's just one scale, right, or one piece. With this, you're out the entire brick. I mean, if you're looking at this, like this brick, this block of G10 could easily make multiple scales, more than two, because of the material that you're carving out of the inside, or also, inlay materials, things like that. So while G10 in and of itself is not an expensive material, right, especially when we're thinking of scales, this is versus making the exact same knife with two pieces of G10 and a backspacer or a standoff. This process is both more expensive and more risky. And you also, I think you have way more opportunities to mess it up. You have to consider, just like with the sandwich construction, but you really have to be extra careful when considering, pivot alignment, and just fitting all of the necessary parts, right? The blade and the bearings, things like that, and getting the detent correct, the plunge lock itself. You have to make sure that all of that is exactly right, or it's just not going to work. So this is really cool, mainly because it comes in at a totally reasonable price tag. When I unboxed this, I said, if this comes in at anywhere under $120, that'll blow my mind. Well, it does. It's a $90 pocket knife, which I think right off the bat, right at the beginning here, is more than fair. That's very fair. I'm going to link this knife right down below. You guys can check it out if you want to. Thanks so much to Kizer for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Okay, let's go ahead and measure this knife. Overall length of the Kizer Brat is coming in at just shy of 8 inches, 7.85 inches. Blade length is 3.5 inches. Cutting edge is 3 1/4. So we can still call this a full-size knife. How about some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2? You can see here, it's kind of in between, but has more of that full knife presence. It's not a skinny knife or anything like that. Let's do the Spyderco, PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. Sorry, let me get these lined up there, pivot to pivot. Once again, kind of in between, but still looking like a full-size knife. And then finally, let's do the Benchmade Bug Out and the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue. Very similar in overall size and profile to the Ritter Hogue, just a little shorter. How's the action? I've been playing with this thing for a while. It's got just a shadow of the stick that it had, the button lock stick, when I first got it in the unboxing. Just a little bit. So it is working itself out, but actually the action is really good. The knife remained centered this whole time, and it's still got rock solid lockup, despite the test I did, which the only footage of this test I have, for some reason I had that phone in the vertical orientation. But I did do a quick spine whack test, which I'll show you guys really quick. Fine. But the knife has remained completely and totally solid. It doesn't move at all, and just a little bit of stick. I would say it's got about 60% the stick that it had when I got it. So the action is really impressive, actually. It's about like what you'd expect from any other button lock knife, but I just feel like when we're doing something different here, when we're doing, in this case, we have an integral G10 frame. Because it's not not everything, it doesn't move the same way. The parts don't shift the same way as in a sandwich or pillar construction knife. So you make a change like that. It's quite a big change to the frame. It wouldn't have surprised me if the action was negatively affected by it. But I don't actually know because I don't machine stuff like this or make stuff like this. I'm just a guy who reviews the final product, the design of the final product. So maybe it's for the better. I don't know. But everything feels great. And, you know, if you're wondering, are the bearings just sitting right on G10? No. We've got this little steel piece that's been set into the frame. It actually, I would imagine, actually goes in through here. Because there's no other way. You can't pull the frame apart, right? So it actually is running on steel, which is nice. In fact, I think, yeah, you can see it just slips right in there. So yeah, in fact, I feel like the action is actually working itself out even more as I'm doing this. Let's do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's a little thicker, but it's also contoured, slightly contoured, which is really nice. It feels really good in the hand. Length and height up against the PM2 and the Para 3. Where are you, PM2? There you are. Yeah, this is a pretty friendly profile. I mean, really, it's not going to be a whole lot different than carrying the Spyderco Para 3. With the flipper tab, it does get a little tall right there, but not anything crazy. I mean, realistically, this was a pretty easy knife to just carry. I had it in my pocket for a couple of days, about a day and a half, something like that. Pretty easy to carry around. No real complaints there. Let's do weight. So it's all G10 with a little chip of steel. Then we have 154 cm for the steel, which is just great. It's just cherry on top of everything. Fantastic steel. Very well rounded, especially, you know, considering the price tag. It weighs 3.67 ounces, which is great. It's almost a perfect ounce and inch ratio, right? 1 ounce of blade for one ounce of knife for 1 inch of blade. Really great. The balance is definitely going to be a little butt heavy. You know what? It's not bad though. It's not bad. This is the balance point right here. So really pretty impressive. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. This is a T8. You're just going to have to trust me. T8 for the pivot, and then we got T6 screws for these. What are they? I thought integrals don't need body screws. Well, it's to house the steel plates so that the bearings have something to write on. But I don't necessarily think you have to, you might actually have to take those out if you're really going to pull the thing apart. But the nice thing about integrals, because a lot of people think, you know, it makes it more durable, right? It's got one integral piece. The benefit really, in my opinion, has nothing to do with durability. It's ease of maintenance, and there's just less overall parts. The fewer parts you can use to accomplish the same thing, the better. It's less screws to strip, less screws to lose, less steps to disassemble, right? An integral knife, there's a benefit there, right? So yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, could you say, like, if you dropped this integral, like if you repeatedly dropped an integral and a sandwich or pillar construction knife, the exact same design, but one's integral and one is pillar or frame construction, or pillar or sandwich construction, you just keep dropping them over and over and over again off the top of a roof, which one would come apart first? I guess the one that has more parts, because there's more stuff to come undone, right? I don't know. I mean, but like, what realistic scenario is that a test for? I don't know. Yeah, they are definitely easier to maintain as long as they are constructed in a way that is friendly to the end user, and this one definitely is. You really just have one or two steps. Take the pivot out and then take the chip out with these two little screws right here, and that's it. I mean, there's no reason to take the pocket clip off unless you're just like, I hate pocket clips, right? It's not like you can mount it to the other side. I don't know why they didn't mount it for lefties, but they didn't, right? But really, super few steps. So that's great. Let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness. I'm going to venture to guess that's about 125 thousandths. That's what it looks like to me. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more. Let's find out. It's a little less, a lot less, 105 thousandths. So I'm just stupid. Okay, let's move on here. Profile, very simple. This is an Azo design, which we see a lot through Kizer. Kizer, why do you have to put the name of the knife on the blade? Why? We know what we bought. I mean, it can't be for advertising, because that would mean they're like, just in case this is lying on the table and somebody's walking by wanting to know what it's called. probably an unlikely scenario because it's probably going to be handed from one human being to another, not discovered by a human being lying somewhere. Not usually. Usually it's handed. And they say, what is this? Oh, it's a Kizer Brat. You know? So why do we have to print the name of the knife on the knife? Why? Social media? So when people take pictures, right? Those are usually tagged. People usually add descriptions. I don't know. Weird, right? It's kind of like when people, if you drive a Corvette and on your windshield it says Corvette. It already, we know that it's a Corvette. So like, why do you guys do that? It looks so weird, right? Or on your license plate, you just spell it without the vowels. Corvette. Yeah, I can see that. The rest of the car is indicative of that. It's so bizarre to me. I don't like it. I don't like it on anything. I don't like it on vehicles either. Like, it's just silly, you know? But anyways, the rest of it's such a silly. I mean, that's not a deal breaker, guys. I'm ranting about it, but it's not that much of a deal breaker. We have Kizer. It says 154 cm and then Ozo. I think those are all fine, but the Brat is just weird. The rest of this knife is very typical looking. Like, without the fact that this is an integral, this would just be a mildly interesting button lock. The thing that makes it the most interesting, far and away, is the fact that the frame is integral. And I like that they just did a little extra texturing back here. There's also something really aesthetically satisfying about an integral frame. It's all one piece. It's just solid, right? It's almost like I'm looking for a seam every now and then, and I realize, oh no, there's not a seam. It's all one piece. It's also really nice, the back of this, how it feels in your hand, because your palm isn't being pressed into the edges of two separate pieces, right? Like this. No, it's just holding on to that. Like, it feels like a fixed blade, you know? And that's nice. This really is a fantastically comfortable knife. And Kizer extended the jimping way out here, so this feels very natural. It feels very much like a knife that is begging to be used. I'm really glad that this is dull, because I just ran my hand up against it. But this knife really is, a lot of knives are begging to be looked at, begging to be fidgeted with, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm somebody who collects knives, uses knives, fidgets with knives, looks at them, and doesn't do anything with, right? That's fine. Different designs and different, I mean, happiness can be brought to the end user in a multitude of different ways, and you don't need to do it in any one specific way for it to be correct. You just, whatever you're going to do, right? I mean, you paid for it, so you don't have to listen to any idiots who tell you otherwise. They're idiots. Anyways, but yeah, this is begging to be used for sure. It feels great, and the jimp where you're going to put your thumb complements your index finger really well. On top of that, the blade, I mean, it's a simple drop point blade. We got a little flat here. We got a nice high swedge, but this is a super user-friendly, super EDC-oriented blade shape. Nice tip, caters or tapers down to a very thin cutting edge. And again, 154 cm. I mean, that's an everyday user. Like, if you get your knife out and use it a lot, 154 cm alongside 14C28N and a number of other very well-rounded steels. It's one of the best steels that you can get on a pocket knife, especially at this price point. Decent edge retention. It's not going to hold it forever. It's not freaking S90V. Decent, but it's tough and it's stainless. And my God, is it easy to touch up. I love this. Leather strop, you're good to go, usually, right? Really fantastic EDC blade. And Kizer put their beautiful tumbled finish on it. Kizer does a great job with that tumbling. I just really like it. I mean, this is a finish that I would accept on a much more expensive knife. Just really nice. The flipper tab is also great. It's a nice shape. You can push button it, right? You can light switch it. Like the, how they've sort of radiused the button here. That also feels good. There's not really a way to accidentally disengage it because there's no choke up spots. You can't really naturally have your index finger falling accidentally on that button. It's just not going to happen. Normally, a lot of times this is an issue with lefties, especially when we have a forward choil. We don't have that. And again, they just were like, whatever. Sorry, lefties. Like, would it have been that hard, Kizer? Or do a wraparound? I mean, you have all this meat back here in the butt. You do a wraparound spacer, right? I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. But, and I'd say it's Ozo. I mean, it's not just Kizer. But, I mean, Kizer, I'm still going to hold them. It's not like they can't be like, hey, do you want to put a clip for lefties? Like, got to ask those questions. But yeah, I like the blade. And obviously, Kizer does a great job with execution, like quality of execution. So everything feels great. There's a lot of opportunities for error when you're making an integral knife. And they really nailed this. They really got it, like, essentially perfect. I would like to see, I mean, let's finish this up real quick. The pocket clip is really, really good. It could have been slightly shorter, but this is a great clip, right? Straight, then a slight drop, slight swoop, and there's no sharp edges to it. In and out of the pocket, it was perfect. It was just a perfect experience. I'm a big fan of this clip, so nice. Stop pin located in the traditional spot, a little bit of shouldering, right? This is a plunge lock, but that is acting as the detent. And honestly, it's fairly clicky. With just a slight amount of detent play. That's what you're always going to have detent play with a plunge lock. That just is. Just a teeny tiny bit. Not that big of a deal. Nice snap though. And the blade has, like I said, remained centered, which is nice. This is freaking awesome. I love this knife. I really love this knife. It's absolutely recommendable for 90 bucks, right? And a lot of people, I can get G10 and 154 CM. I can get it from this company for 65. But is it an integral? Well, but I don't care about that. But is it an integral? Well, no. That's why. It doesn't matter if you don't care about it, right? If you don't care about it, you don't care about it, right? Then go buy that knife that costs less, has the same materials. I'm sure Kizer actually makes some, right? But for people wanting the integral thing and not wanting to pay a bare minimum of, what are they, like Chinese premium integrals that are almost all made out of titanium, the bare minimum you're going to pay is $450, right? Easily. Go ahead. Go look. That's what they cost. I hope this becomes a trend. If Kizer can do this for 90 bucks, every other budget company, every other company that's making knives in this territory, you should be looking into making a G10 integral. I would love to see G10 integral variants of some of the knives that are already ultra popular, right? Just for fun. They're not going to be for everybody because there's plenty of people who just flat out don't care about the integral element. But there are tons of people who would be interested. I would pay a little bit more to have an integral version of some of my favorite budget knives. I don't know about you, but I would. As of right now, this is like the only thing that I know of that's at this price point. This is crazy recommendable. It's not just the fact that it's an integral, but on top of that, it's a really good design. If you've ever wanted to carry an EDC and integral, but have been, you've been gated out of that community by the fact that they cost so much money, well, here's your chance. And I think you'll have a really great experience with it. I did. So, very recommendable. Unfortunately, I can't put it in my cheap knives I like playlist because it's over 75 bucks, but I am going to put it in my most recommended knives playlist. Seriously, extremely recommendable knife. Awesome stuff from Kizer. That's going to be pretty much it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on the Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.